Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here again, and we are here to talk about and the new anticipated that came out worldwide last week, the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie. So the sound of the Gion Shojin bells echoes the impendence of all things. The color of the Sala flowers reveals the truth, and the prosperous must decline. However, we are the exception. We are the exceptional critics. We are going to be talking about the anime movie of Jujutsu Kaisen, one of our favorite series in Show and Jump in Viz Media, and we are so happy. We're so glad. We all have our thoughts, and yeah, let's go in straight to our faces. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an episode of the Anime Lately podcast. I am your host, Sam the Manga Man, and here with me are my bro Takus. Introducing first, he is the CEO of Careful Spoilers Podcast Network, the host of Careful Spoilers show C4S Villains, founder of the man who stands Aaron Yeager. He is the critically acclaimed movie critic, JB exclusive, the invincibly talented James Barnes. Finally, our new member to the Anime Lately team from the Virgin Islands. He is a man with diverse tastes and varying interests, a pillar amongst his family, counselors, mentors, and friends. He is the pride of the Caribbeans. He is the CFO of the Conqueror movement. So sit down, be humble, and don't be a mother skunk. Please welcome Kendall. How are we all doing?
Doing real good, dude. I can't wait to talk about this movie. Like, I wasn't as hype as I thought I was going to be going into it, because honestly, I haven't read Zero until today.
Same.
Right? So I knew it was going to be awesome, but I just went in with regular expectations, and I was blown away in multiple different ways that I can't wait to get into. And then I read Zero, and then it's like, this is really, really good shit. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen is really, really good. And I can't wait to see where this story goes from here, man. Like, absolutely love it.
Nice. I was super hyped. I started the entire manga series from zero as soon as the second court finished. So I was like, oh, there's a zero? Might as well start there. And it did not disappoint. And no spoilers, but like I said, where the manga is right now and the timing of the release, I've never seen it before. That's all I'm gonna say. I've never seen it executed so beautifully before.
I'm with James' position. Like, I have not touched Zero. I went just technically anime first, and then I picked up the manga where the anime stopped, and then it was just banger chapters after banger after arc after banger. It's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? And never touched Zero. But I did get them. I've been introduced to Yuta, like from subtle hints, and then after certain arc, you meet Yuta. You don't know who he is, and you don't know what he's capable of, but he sure kicks ass, and that's how you know, like, okay, I'm already liking Yuta in itself and his character. How much more can I like him from his own backstory? Who is he? Where is he from? What is his purpose? Like, how come everybody was so hype when they first see Yuta coming back and everything? Because I remember that trended in the manga community of Yuta. Oh shit, it's Yuta. Like who's this Yuta person? You're gonna find out if you read Zero. Or the Metropolitan train arc. It was like the long translation. It's like, okay, but what if this is someone that started this anime first, but they didn't want to go to Zero because everybody says like, yo, don't do Zero yet. Just wait for the movie to come out, and mind you, this took like 2 years. This is like, yeah, okay, that's fine. 2 years. We were in the middle of the Shibuya arc, and we were slowly growing into the Culling Game arc and all the stuff that's happening for it. And I was perfectly fine not knowing about Yuta. But
again, I will say same thing. That trailer, that movie announcement was also made when we got subtle hints of Yuta in the manga. Again, is the marketing and the intention behind this is just beautiful.
Yeah, I already thought that Yuta was a really interesting character, and then watching this movie, reading the manga, I'm like, he may be my second or third favorite character, period, in JJK. Like, I can't wait to get into it because the arc that he goes through in this story is literally incredible. Like, it's not like groundbreaking or anything because we have seen it before, but it's just the way it was done. It really, really spoke to me. And it's just such a great character arc, especially to put into a movie.
I definitely agree. So how we're gonna start this is we're gonna talk a little bit of non spoilers for people who have not watched the movie, and then we're gonna go spoilers within the movie, just but only for the anime fans only, anime side only. We're not gonna go. We'll try our best not to go into any spoilers for the manga side, but
It's very doable. I
it's
think we'll be all right.
it's very doable. If we had Vash right here joining us, then it would have not been possible. But
Yeah, yeah.
and if people like, we would definitely go into some manga spoilers. But I don't feel like there'd be any necessarily to connect from movie and then what's there in the manga at this very moment. So I think we should just go straight into this right now with non spoilers. So who wants to take it away?
I'll go first.
Go ahead,
Go
James.
for it.
Yeah, so quick non-spoiler thoughts. I'll just say that I think the anime perfectly adapted the manga. Like I mentioned before, like I saw the movie first, then I read Zero right before the pod, and I just love the way that the anime reworked the way certain things played out so that Yuta can have more like development in the beginning so that we can care about him more,
Mm-hmm.
so that when he becomes a part of the team dynamic, it works a lot better, right? So I really, really like those changes. There's things that were added. One thing that I like a lot is the movie is a lot more violent. It's bloodier. Again, I think the pacing's better. I think the characterization to Yuta in general is just way better compared to the manga. In there's some really like serious moments for Yuta, and I think the anime movie does it way better than the manga does it. So like you're gonna hear that a lot from me during this review. There's a lot of things that it just takes from the manga and it just makes it way better. The dialogue, I think the dialogue is also way better in this movie, and I love the way that the movie took the concepts of these fights from the manga and just turned it up to fucking 11. Like all of these fights were extended and they were all incredible. The animation's great, the music's great. It's everything that you want, man. I can't wait to get into spoilers, but yeah, those are my non-spoiler thoughts. Like they did an incredible job adapting this.
I could go next. So yeah, what I loved about this movie was definitely the animation into this and the music. Like everything worked really well and it fits in. It's not your typical kind of anime movie where like slowly build to the final battle and anything like that. No, it everybody had like I trust Gege and he does a really good job with character writing and like if writing a character like Yuta for this and giving him an entire movie of it and giving this the setting the timeline of where when and where is going to be happening he definitely knew how to do it. One of his I've seen a lot of people like would say compete saying like the main character for the Jujutsu Kaisen should have been Yuta throughout the entire time, but like throw away that conversation. It's just that Gege is really good at doing character writing, and that's absolutely fine. How do you make a loving character that you you really wish does not die throughout the entire story? Because Gege knows how to do that. This man is um, like the king of the Game of Thrones writers. He knows how to set the mood, give each character that everybody feeling relatability of empathy, sympathy into it, and gives them their time to shine, as well as giving every side characters or even like non-vague like little character that doesn't need to show any importance. You just you gave but he gave the people interest of okay, who is this guy? I need to know more. You'll find out much later on throughout the entire story and everything. How he did this movie with how this movie came together and the director is the same director of the JJK anime. Same, uh, I think it's also the same animator and music. Oh no, sorry, different music, but same animator itself. Worked on this movie the same way they did the animated series, and I didn't see one bad anime scene ever. Like it still kept this like the line dots eyes and that, but that's part of the comedy of JJK, and I think this was like very fun, and I'm really happy for the people, for the anime watchers only, that they get to experience the same kind of timeline the manga readers had too, because I remember, um, before the Shibuya arc, uh, JJK Zero came out. Nobody had any expectations. When they read it, they had great expectations of it, and then they were able to continue forward with it. Um, this is actually like the same feeling, same moment for me, for just an first anime watcher, then manga reader, and now going into JJK Zero, of watching the animated movie and then reading the series. Like, it's a different feeling, different mood, and like definitely way beyond your expectations ever.
So I'm going to come in with some Demon Slayer comparisons.
Sure, go for it.
And what I'm going to say is, so Demon Slayer and JJK both pick the perfect series or the perfect parts of their series to turn into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
JJK did it better.
Mm-hmm.
What I will also contrast and say is, much like you all have alluded to, the money that clearly went into the animation wasn't hyper focused on specific parts of the movie. You got fluid moments from start to finish, just fluid moments from start to finish. I don't know about everybody else, but reading a lot of things and then seeing it animated, you can almost kind of predict where certain lines are kind of gonna get lost along the way. Nothing was lost. Things that I was just like, I really hope that they animate this. I really hope that they say this the same way, the same delivery that they gave it. If not the same, better delivery. Color palettes, amazing, not too dark, not too bright, vibrant when it needs to be, shadowy and kind of like mysterious when it needs to be. And again, at this point, we expect JJK to have good action sequence, right? So I'm not even looking out for that. I'm just being critical of the movie as a movie at this point. And it's not too long, it's not too short. Yeah, there's a lot of, and I'm liking again the decision for this to be a movie and not an OVA. A lot of times we get OVAs where it's split into 2, 3, 4 episodes or whatever the case may be, but usually they're not released together. Maybe you get 2 at once, but usually you get them in parts. I would have hated to have this movie in parts. It was just so smooth. The story was just so smooth. And then the final tidbit, because I need to go back and watch it dubbed to support all of our nakamas that have done their thing and put their foot into this. But I watched this sub initially because I had to, just had to. And the voice casting was perfect. Like, Yuta came on the screen. Obviously, y'all saw the trailers, but I only watched the first trailer and I didn't watch the audio on. So I didn't know what Yuta sounded like. I didn't know what to expect from watching any of the other trailers. I'd already read the manga, but Yuta came on the scene and his voice was like, I was like, that's it. That's the voice that in the back of my imagination when reading, that's the voice that I heard. Same thing for Rika, even with the texture of her voice. I don't want to say anything yet, but the texture of her voice is the way I would imagine it to be from one previously watching the episodes, but also just the way that it was presented to us in the manga. And then I'll leave it up there. I feel like you guys touched on everything else. I just kind of wanted to kind of go back and highlight that point a little bit more.
Like since you mentioned with Mugen Train, technically Jujutsu Kaisen Zero beat Mugen Train's first weekend office by 0.1 million, so $100,000, which is very impressive. It is also ranked the second spot in the weekend behind the Batman, which it makes sense. It was gonna be very hard to compete against Batman even after like a couple
And
weeks.
that's not competing because you outdid your most recent competitor in the weekend that the Batman was released. That's just phenomenal. I feel like the only other I think the only other person that could have the only other series that could have survived something like that would have had to been like a Sailor Moon, Studio Ghibli, or Dragon Ball series because you know the fans are gonna come out regardless for certain series, and it's good to see that we're getting more movies, and it's not just limited releases. It's not just in one theater at a time. It's not sub is on Tuesday, dub is on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get both on Friday. Y'all know what I'm talking about because
Yes.
that was the script for a while. You
It's
get one day for one day for the other, and then on
Yeah.
like Sunday or early Saturday in like the early parts of the day before the theater gets busy,
it's
you get the sub and the dub shared. So it's good to see that that's expanded. At least where I am, there's multiple theaters. It's not just your maxes. Like all the theaters are releasing anime now in their movie theaters, and they're doing well. They're bringing in crowds, and they have younger audiences working in these theaters as well. So of course they're hype as well. Like they're seeing people coming in their cosplays. I went in there. I think I had what did I have on? I had my I had a Hinata Shoyo Haikyuu hoodie on, and I had like my Akatsuki hat, and I just like the guy was like, "Oh man, you looking good." We strike up a little conversation real quick. Again, it's that feel that and you want interactions when you go into the movie. It's great. Like when you go to a convention and you see someone cosplaying as one of your favorite characters or from a series that you don't normally typically see get love. So to have that experience in the movie theater versus having to wait, you know, for some people all year if they only go to one convention or they don't have anything local to go to, you know, being able to go to the movies and then get that same experience is beautiful.
I absolutely agree because I do remember the 1 day sub, 1 day dub, and then back and forth every single days and stuff like that. Still a little bit mad where they should support more for dub because there's only like one showing for dub per day, but like sub had like a
Yeah.
good had some IMAXs, has some regular standards into each day. They should add more dub voicing screening, which they will have it like after today. There won't be any more IMAX viewing, but that's absolutely fine. I watched it in standard, worked worked fine just for me. I mean, I still enjoyed the movie. I'm be even glad that there's gonna be more opportunities for people to watch it in dub because I watched this movie with my brother and he used to be an anime fan but fell off. But he when he first watched JJK, he loved it. He enjoyed it. Like he remembered the same kind of chemistry that the algorithm that he fell in love with anime, like with Naruto, and like with like and like Fullmetal Alchemist and all the other animes and stuff like that. It had hit everything that he wanted it, and he was. I don't think he had any expectation of how the movie would be, or the introduction of Yuta. But I think he had a great time with it, like especially where like how Studio Mappa uh, did each and every scenes, did in each and every fight, did in their music, everything fit perfectly well. Uh, to see it actually do beat Demon Slayer Mugen Trains in box office by even like a small margin is
As
very
it should,
impressive.
man.
It's
As
very
it should.
impressive. I've never would expect. I forgot the studio name for Demon Slayer. Ufotable, like to be someone another studio to compete with an anime movie that would actually beat Demon Slayer, and I remember every timeline and news in Japan when Jujutsu from start when it first released in December 24th till I think 2 weeks ago when they took out JJK's movie out from their movie theaters, it was the dominating like box office in Japan for like the past 3 months, and that's very impressive.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to say that I expect that y'all can tell me your thoughts, but I think the story of Yuta is a way more compelling story than the story of Rengoku and that train. So I expected there to be um more affinity to it. Now, I think the reason it didn't sell even better is because people have still not tried out JJK. A lot of people look at the images, they look at the stills, they're the oh, it's the Naruto trio, it's whatever. I've been trying to get my roommate to watch it, my housemate to watch it for a while. And literally, so I bought 5 tickets to the movies. Whenever there's a good movie coming out, I buy 3 to 5 tickets. If I go by myself, that's nobody on either side of me. If people want to join me, then great. I'm surrounded by people I want to be in the movie theater with. So I got to go with 2 other people that I really enjoy. One of those was being my housemate. Um, and he literally Thursday before started JJK. The night before, the Wednesday night before the movie, finished JJK. And I told him, I was like, I was like, because I invited him, maybe like a couple of days after I bought a ticket. I was like, you don't even need to watch the series. Like, if you're gonna do anything, humor me, watch maybe like the first 2 or 3 episodes. Like, if you at least watch the first couple episodes before you get in it, if you even get through the first core before you get to the movie, you'll be in so much of a better place, because I feel like you realistically you meet everyone you need to meet by the end of the first core, or at least the beginning of the second core. Um, so yeah, finished it, thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Um, I again, like, it's just such a good movie. It really could be its own standalone movie from the series, and I would not be bothered in any type of way. Please don't do the Dragon Ball Z Demon Slayer, make it into episodes. I feel like there's already too much things. There's so much hype around the Shibuya arc that's coming afterwards. I need all the episodes to go into the Shibuya arc, and I need to see Maki's arc as well. If you can squeeze that into season 2, I personally would be grateful. If not, it's fine. If you even want to make that a movie too, perfectly fine with seeing that on the big screen, actually.
Facts.
First, John, thank you for joining the membership for 12 months. Thank you very much, man. I'm really glad that you're back from hiatus and it's not One Piece. Yes, we might get into that with Studio Toei, but yeah, that'll be much later. Glad to have you back from hiatus.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, James, you had your thought?
No, I was just gonna piggyback off of Kendall real quick and just talk about, like, you were talking about how just comparing this to like Mugen Train, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna say something crazy. I think this is the best anime movie of the last 5 years. I might sound crazy, but like Sam mentioned, right, and I mentioned this in chat earlier too when we were talking about it. A lot of these anime movies, we get the villain, and the whole movie is just the build up, and then the last 30 minutes we get some really incredible animation, some incredible fights, and then it's over and we had a really good time. This was a really, really deep, rich character story with high stakes, a true arc for a character moving from absolute tragedy to where he's in a place where he has friends, he's fighting for them, he's found a sense of family finally, and he's also gotten peace with Rika. Like, this is a full fleshed out story for Utah, and it also gives us an insight into Jujutsu High and what this world is like. Like, this is in an incredible film. Like, I think from beginning to end, like you mentioned, Kendall, like, this, it's perfectly paced, it's not too long, not too short, it's everything. You got incredible fights, great animation, great music, great character arcs, and then you deeply understand the relationship between Gojo and Geto. I also feel like Geto got more to do in the movie than he actually gets to do in the manga, which, you know, when you finally get the end scene with Yuta and Geto against each other, it means more, right? Like, I also think something else that the anime does way better than the manga is you know, what happens with Rika's death, right? I think it's so much more emotional, it's so much darker in the movie as well. Like, it just elevates this manga in every single way. And again, like, I think this is the best anime movie of the last 5 years.
So 2 things. I'm gonna assume, Sam, that we're transitioning to spoilers. At
Yeah,
this
we
point.
we going
Yeah,
into
sorry.
Yeah, no,
I just like
that's-
jumped in.
there.
Oh,
Nah,
sorry guys.
nah,
So
I like it.
be careful for that. But yeah, let's just go straight into our movie spoilers going in. Go for it, Kendall.
Yeah, so no, Rika is a character. If you have read it, Rika is not a character in the Zero.
Mm-mm.
In the movie, Rika is a character. And then yes, you get more from Goat, but you also get character development for other characters from the sophomores as well.
Yes.
Because you don't necessarily um you don't get to see that as deeply. You will eventually, some things will come a little bit more to light through season 2 and beyond, but it's this dynamic. You understand, again, spoiler edging to the manga but not manga spoiler, you understand the dynamics that are about to be presented going forward so much better from this movie. So when you see certain things happen in the Shibuya arc and subsequently all the arcs that come after, it's not just like a, oh, this was inserted randomly, some really hard kind of like heel toe turn into, like, no, this has always been the premise of what's been going on. You understand why Gojo, it presents themselves the way that they do. There's a lot there. There's a lot of meaning there, and there's a reason why that he has this love and empathy for his students.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that as well. You see that as much as we know that, you know, Gojo's can be a little bit of an a-hole, there is a true, genuine compassion for doing the right and the community and nurturing this next generation. And everything that you see along the way going forward from here into season 2 especially, you will understand that this is done out of love. This is not, again, people want to throw the Kakashi comparison. Kakashi could never. There's no disrespect to Kakashi. He's an amazing sensei. Jiraiya could never. I'm gonna throw people under the bus. You know, Genkai, amazing, could never. And it's not like to say that he's better as a teacher or better in any way dynamically, but the way that he presents himself, the way that we've been seeing teachers present themselves or seeing senseis or predecessors present themselves to the main characters, this is a very, very different character. Very, very different character. And you get to see so much more depth because it's a character, while he is so fluffy and fun and shows a serious side, but a jokey side, it's stuck there. If you're just watching the first season of the anime, you don't see it's either serious or jokey, serious or jokey. However, in a movie, you're like, oh, these dichotomies exist to encapsulate his entire persona. And his entire persona is so much more than this. This is just how he has to present himself because he's the GOAT. Actually, he is fully much aware that he is the GOAT. And again, like the kind of the series alludes to, the only competition really is Utah at this point. The only competition for that number 1 spot, and guess what? That's his distant cousin. the blood genes the bloodline is running strong in these genes.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that too, like Gojo sees them as people, like plain and simple. He sees them as people, where Jujutsu High and the people that run it sees them as tools that need to be used, right? Like they're so quick. It's like, well, if it doesn't work out, we just kill him. It's like, there's still a person. There's other ways that we can do it. And I loves that he tells them, like, I want you to know, if it goes south, I'm siding with Utah. So just so you know, it's like it's a light threat, because he knows they'll never go against him because they will lose. So it's like, I will do right by you. You just need to do right by me. I'll handle it. It's okay. It's taken care of. He sees them as people and not tools. That's the one of the most important things for me about how Gojo deals with his students.
Let me try to see if I get back piggyback from you guys. Gojo was definitely the GOAT, and like definitely seeing him not just as a teacher, but almost like a pseudo parent to each and every of his students as well. Like he gave Yuta a reason to want to live, and then gave him like, you know, I know you want to die, I know you want to be imprisoned and be by yourself, but you're gonna be very lonely. And like we know he's not gonna be lonely. He's gonna be stuck by himself with Rika, not knowing about everything that he does know now. at least with Gojo, it's like I'm giving you a chance where like you could still meet people, you still have your freedom, you just need to better your control of your powers, which nobody really understand. Nobody really told him about that. Nobody really helped him understand it. And Gojo was one of the few people that never feared Yuta, even with Rika behind his back, and he had the curse energy all around him. Because remember, like the first introduction of between for the second years now, like the first years of then of Maki, Toge, and Panda, when they first met Yuta, they just automatically see the curse energy from Rika, and right away, straight up, they were like they really wanted to slay him, kill him. Hey, yo, is this a joke? Like we slay like cursed spirits, kill people like you. And it's like, is this an entire joke? And then it's like, you see Gojo like, hey guys, I mean, I wouldn't really do that if I were you, just cause like you don't really want to mess with him. You see all this evilness, like this power, this cursed energy. Yeah, it doesn't sit idle by, and he doesn't have control. And then more from Rika coming out to an appearance and scaring everybody. Literally, she would have instantly killed him. But I think it was or I think Yuta somehow was able to stop her from killing anybody. Cause I remember like the first scene of the movie was Yuta in school being picked on and bullies, and then you have this weird fetish guy that really wanted to beat him up. Next thing you know, you have a hand sneaking in, fade to black. Literally, like you hear screaming and shit, and a locker, and then like it's closed and it's all bloody and shit. And then the moment opening up, literally from a horror movie, it's like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah, dude, the manga doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't capture
No.
it at all. Compare, dude. It's like when that locker slightly opens up, you can kind of
You see the
Rika
eyes, you see the bleeding,
you
and
see
it's
the
like
eyes, the
oh.
blood flowing out,
it's the blood.
pools
It's the
around
blood
his
to the
body.
foot.
Oh
It's the
my
blood
god.
to the foot and the murmuring. It's the blood to
Yeah.
the foot and the
The
murmuring.
like,
Just
I'm
like
sorry, I'm sorry, I'm
I'm
sorry.
so sorry.
Yo.
Yeah, no, it is good. So John, to your point, I just want to say that this is getting into the meta of anime in general. This is going to be a constant across other series. So yeah, the Kakashi reference and the Naruto reference and overlays are valid, but I mean, child warriors are basically the premise of shonen. I don't really know how to say that any other different way. Whether you're looking at Gundam, whether you're looking at Sailor Moon, no matter what you're looking at, that undertone of seeing the youth as something that have to carry the vanguard, that have to store the power, that have to be sacrificed, that have to be the ones. It has to be the youth. It always has to be the youth. Meanwhile, there's somebody that's had the power that's something 100 years old in the series, and you're wondering, well, how did you live so long? And that's usually where that corruption stems from, is that people have lived such a long life with certain powers that their view of the world becomes jaded over time, or they give up hope on what is supposed to be the light to things. And I think that's beautiful. And in that same way, I feel like one of the super tonalities or major undertones of JJK movie is the idea of the deadly power of love. Rika is literally the curse embodiment of love. That is what Rika is. Rika is the curse embodiment of love. A love so passionate, a love so deep, a love so
Twisted.
pure and unfiltered that this child had no other way to understand how to go about processing any of that. Yes, Darling and Frank. Oh, I like Darling and Francis specifically for that reason. And you also see them, different to JJK, they turn themselves into the adults over time. Essentially, they take the control themselves and they go out. Don't want to spoil Darling in France for anybody that hasn't watched Darling in France, but also another good reference. But yes, it's and again, so we gotta remember, shonen is also trying to highlight the transition from youth to adulthood. That's that age, that demographic, specifically in Japan. Like that is the age demographic of you are transitioning into an adult. Like this is the demographic, the age range of what you're looking at when you're looking at shoujos and you're looking at shonen. So like very valid point. But like I said, that the ending, the love versus justice, just I didn't think that they were gonna word for word it. I wasn't sure what they were gonna do with it because that's one of those scenes where it's like there's so much action going on. Why do you want to put words here? So I wasn't sure if they were gonna put the words inside of it, but I was so happy. It was so satisfying to like just look up and see that exchange, and then you get blasted. You get blasted. And then I guess more not really spoiler, but just another point of comparison is that Rika is if Rika was born or conceived 1,000 years before, I don't know who would be the strongest demon in town. I'm just gonna say it like that very vaguely.
I was gonna come back into the scene where Rika dies, which the theme in the movie is much more intense than it is in the manga. And then like Yuta having this theory, like, I don't think she was made from any curse. I think I cursed her, and that hurt because like you go that flashback is like I couldn't accept her death. And it's like I don't want her to die. I don't want her to die. I don't want her to die. We didn't. We had they background checked Rika's history. She was not related to any of the family. She had nothing special about her. She only had one hole in her life, and that was Yuta in itself. But on Yuta, there was so many holes into his life. We don't know where he came from, who his family was, how it became possible for Rika, someone that's just regular human like Rika, to go straight into an overpowered curse spirit.
Special grade. Like,
And like we've seen
Listen.
like regular humans being like what grade 3, grade 4, like just the low tiers, and then like how do you go just jump all the way to the front line into spirit? It's like that doesn't add up.
Yeah. No, I mean like it's again, it's the emotions, right? So let's talk about like some of the concepts in the lore of this world. All curses are emotions. All curses are some manifestation of some set of emotions: fear, jealousy, anger, revenge, regret. These are normal things, normal and abundant. But when you think about love now as an emotion, is something love in itself is hard to encapsulate because it's not just an emotion, right? And then if you look at it that way, then to say that this abundance of this already large gathering of emotions is then turned into a curse, you would then, yes, I would expect it to be, I would expect it to be OP. I would expect it to be a little over the top, and that's kind of what you get from that. And then again, at the same time, kind of going back to Yuta's development real quick, it's just like it's not just that he realizes in the end, like, oh, I cursed her. Like he's always fully conscious and aware of Rika, but spends the first act of the movie, okay, John, spends the first act of the movie essentially not wanting or not feeling that they were able to communicate with Rika, as hyper aware that they knew that that was Rika, did not still see as Rika. And you watch that change and you start to trust more, to the point where it's like, I'm willing to give myself. And you sit there and you think that's the apex of it, right? Like, oh, you're going to sacrifice yourself. Everyone knows in any series, if you sacrifice yourself for any type of ritual or spirit, you're giving the max of what you can give in that moment. And then for then you to turn around and be like, oh, it's not just that, there's more. It doesn't just stop at I sacrifice myself. It's like, oh no, I understand myself. I have now grown to a point well beyond where I think even anyone besides Gojo could have foreseen. But again, like from the time Gojo understood what the lineage and what the premise was, he was like, he knew. He's like, you're gonna get this. You're gonna get this. I believe that you're gonna get this, because Gojo sees the person, like you were saying, James. Gojo sees the person in him, and it's like the type of person that you are. The reason that this spirit even exists the way it does is because of Yuta's love. Therefore, as long as you don't lose that love, as long as you don't use your humanity in trying to, better gain power, it was always destined that it would turn itself back around in the form that it did.
Yeah,
I want to say
like,
something before. John, thank you for the $10 donation. Since Ray is here, I gotta say this: the Bakun is coming back. LOL. On topic. How is love with Rika compared to an agent of chaos like Sukuna?
Oh, James, you want to go first? Because I feel like I've been
I don't
talking for a
know.
little bit. All right, I'll jump on it then. I'll jump on it.
Yeah, go ahead. I need to think about my
So,
answer for that one.
as a agent of chaos myself, uh, that operates in light, you can have light in chaos. Chaos is the meshing and balancing of both creation and destruction, light and darkness. Therefore, that is where your love comes into play. Love is the light aspect of chaos. Typically, we see chaos as a means of darkness, but again, that clash at the end, the love versus justice, isn't about one person being wrong versus the other person being right. Both parties genuinely felt that their stance was the stance. And if you look at it not from the framework of the way that the movie is presented to us, I could easily stay and say, I think justice is right. I think that the issue that's going on with society right now, even in our real world, is that there's a lack of justice in place. But even more so, there is a lack of love. And I think that that is what you see. That is the clash that you end up seeing. That is what the chaos is born from, essentially, is this meeting up of, do you put the love first? Do you put the justice first? How do you even get these things to coexist in such a way? And then at the end, you see that Goto is still holding on to the ID card. Goto still has hope. So again, think about the yin yang system, the yin yang symbol. A little light inside of the darkness, a little darkness inside of the light. I hope I answered that question well enough for you.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't even have anything to add to that. Like that was great.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, if people were gonna compare, like, what happens if Sukuna was still alive during back then? Was there not someone else who had that sort of like pure love that can, like, that develops and grow the same way of Yuta and Rika and that sort of thing? But I also need, like, I want to bring up and confirm, like, there wasn't really, Gojo's family wasn't really like all out there and spread out and huge. There were so many like sorcerer families throughout the entire thing, and they've explained it into the movie, which I'm really glad for. The people who just watched the first season of the anime and they're going into the movie, the movie has answered so many questions that people have had about curse technique, the curse family, the skills, and being able to, which I actually am happy with. It wasn't It's the same feeling and same feeling of pace that you would get when Gege writes in a manga where you're reading it, and he explained very clearly, very well, and you're not confused of anything. Like compared to like other series, like I'm gonna say with Hunter x Hunter, when explaining Nen and explaining all the other abilities and stuff like that, it was like a very long paragraph passage and stuff. But when it came to Gege and his writings, he knew just enough to get people interested, their abilities of what they can do as a sorcerer, what their curse technique can be, and all the other stuff where you're curious you can't wait to see more camera time on them to really see and develop how this character came to be. Uh, but going but to have that whole chaos and love going against each other fighting, I guess like there probably wasn't a love that was strong. Love is pure or strong enough that was able to last for over 1,000 years, or at least come up within 1,000 years. Because at least with Sukuna, he went to sleep. He he just wait for this moment. Uh, but yeah, definitely we can go back into the earlier conversation before James.
Yeah, I was just gonna continue off of what we were already talking about, but on the topic of that love being so powerful, this is yet again something else that the movie does so much better than the manga.
Mhm.
The movie adds so much more scenes between Yuta and Rika that you get more of that relationship, you get more of that bond, like watching them like play on the playground and that first interaction between them where they lock eyes for the first time across that
Which
classroom,
they were in a
right?
hospital.
Like,
No, they were in a hospital actually.
yeah, sorry, yeah, in the hospital, not a
They've actually
classroom.
explained where like they were both really like sick in the end, but like sometimes usually it's much more diseases and sickness is more dangerous when you're young, and they were both weak bodied, and like they just somehow met in that moment where Rika was looking at the window, seeing the sunrise, and Yuta just looking at her and the beauty of it. Uh, Going back to what Kendall said about the demographics of senin and kids and adults and stuff like that, these they started out kids and literally grown with the same emotional feelings and moments as well as experience and memories as like an adult, and like of course, and then to the final moments of Rika dying from that car, the car hitting her, and Yuta not being able to accept her death. It's more like these are kids, and yet they're facing adult emotional feelings like that not many people even able to get throughout the entire life, and in such a short time, it the rage of Yuta and him cursing Rika, just it makes sense of how it's just so developed into a really really powerful special grade curse, and not just for her to be a special grade curse spirit, but for Yuta to also be a special grade sorcerer himself. Sorry,
Yeah,
just
I'd agree. Just to kind of ping on one of the questions that was in the chat.
right.
I liked Nanami's presence
Mm-hmm.
in the movie. I think reading, if you watch the movie now, there's a certain dynamic present for these characters, and Nanami also has a role to play in that dynamic. And I think
Right.
from what we know about Nanami and Nanami's relationship to them to that point, it makes sense that he shows up the way he shows up. The timing to which he shows up, the just even the dialogue, like it to me, it made perfect. I really there feelings school kind of showing up, so to speak, but it worked really well. They weren't given too much of a role. It really felt like they did a great job of like showing me that they were freshmen comparatively to everything that we saw in the series. I very much so got the the essence of they're still immature. Even Maki, there's certain interactions in regards to training where I'm just like, okay, this is younger Maki. Maki is
Right.
still learning to interact with certain people in certain ways. There's a lot of complexity present in subtleness. Like I said earlier, a lot of rounding of characters outside of the core set of characters who are the focus of the movie.
Yeah. To the, each and everybody like has enough time to show their own like individual like character and power, even though we didn't hear too much of Naname compared to like if someone who didn't like someone who did watch the anime, and we this is enough information we got from them. Technically we've seen Naname in his best fighting side, because remember in the flashback in the anime, he mentioned to Yuji like how many black flashes can I do? Like not even like consecutively, or maybe not even consecutively, 3 times. And then you literally see the scene where he's actually doing Black Flash 3 times, and it was sick. And then his 7-3 motions, of course, very cool. Killing all these curse spirits and stuff like that. And then we get introduced to the other teachers. We got Mei Mei with her axe and everything.
Oh my god. I'm in love.
Yo, I had so much more appreciation for Mei, not even from reading it, just from seeing it animated.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I had so much more.
Which,
Like I already
which
like
it
the
wasn't in a
character.
manga neither. Like that scene
Yeah,
was
I
not.
already-
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Not
that sounds
at
like
all.
nothing that you've seen. So anything that you've seen. So this is again, we're in the spoiler territory. Anything that
Yeah.
you see about the second school, that was fresh. So you still got something fresh from this movie, even if you read the manga. Even if you read the manga, there was still so much more to add. And again, the timing to where those things were added in were just seamless. All right, we
Yeah.
have an action sequence going on. We're about to transition to another location. Why don't I use that pathway to throw in some action with some other characters that you have grown to love over watching the series? It was just
And I
a
have-
really good decision.
And I really appreciate that we did get all of those characters, but it never took away from any of Yuta's story.
Yes.
because that would have pissed me off. But it was great fan service to see all of these different characters. Nanami, God, he kicks so much fucking ass, and the way he shows up too, after seeing Sorcerer's fall, and then him showing up, I got this, and then he just fucking destroys these curses. So I absolutely loved all of those moments. Like this film does a really good job. Like this
And
was so well written, so well planned out.
and again, so this we already knew from hints and flashbacks that this moment that happens, the climax of the movie, this moment that happens is literally one of the most pivotal things that has happened to JJK. It's the thing that started the process of what is actually going on in the series right now.
Right.
Again, when you talk about a zero, we talk about this being ground zero, we talk about this being a session zero. This is really like the origin of where we are in the world. And a lot of times you get series, picking another series, My Hero Academia, where you get that forced into smidgens as you progress through the series. So we learned about All Might over a extended period of time through movies, through flashbacks. We learn all of this different stuff about All Might, but much later on. Whereas again, like I said, I kudos to JJK. You got a season. I didn't do the Attack on Titans. I'm sorry to knock on Attack on Titans, but shade to Attack on Titans. I didn't take 17 years to give you a sequel. I didn't. I'm sorry, James. I had to do it. I didn't take an extended period of time to get back to you with content. I didn't go out and try to do a live action. Again, I'm sorry, James. I have to pick on them for all the greatness that they are. They gotta get picked on.
Yeah.
They have to get picked on for that.
Yeah.
They have to get picked on for that because it's one of those notches, unfortunately, on the greatness that is an Attack on Titan's resume. But the point of what I was trying to get to is the timing. This is somebody talk about. I criticize Netflix for this all the time, where I feel like there's a level of tone deafness, or appreciation for anime in the way that they animate certain series. It doesn't feel like the people sometimes on teams prior to it's gotten a lot better. I am aware that they have hired and rehired and fired and gotten they've done a lot of intentional like reworking and rebranding for their animation department, for their their POC audience. So I kudos to Netflix for that. But I do remember earlier on a lot of kind of like tone deafness. Again, you don't get that here. This man is a student of the game. I have studied, I have researched, I have watched, I see what works, I see what doesn't work, not coming to the table. And this is what some of these, even these webtoon artists lack the ability, the awareness, and the backbone when they came with their series forward to Crunchyroll and stuff, to be stern about like, no, this has to go in this direction. This is what's going to work for my series. I'm not just trying to get the series on the screen. I really want to execute this in the best way possible. And as of right now, I will say the early talks about JJK being one of the best series. As far as the writing is going right now, it's up there. It's going to be talked about in 20, 50 years with the Attack on Titans and the One Piece. It's going to be.
From a writing perspective, it's peak, dude. Like JJK is it's fire.
So I'm going to address that Johnson's question before I was going to add something to it. To the panel, do you feel that Gege improved on Kubo's formula with Helios versus what Tabata does with different designs of devils and demons versus substance?
Now y'all got prolific questions in the chat
Right?
tonight.
Yeah. Got your back, John. Got your back.
John, while I'm answering, elaborate more on what you perceive as Kubo's formula.
Yeah.
What I
Right.
will say is it's hard to say yes or no because it is a very dynamic shift from what is presented for what a hollow is and what a curse is. Animation style, certain things, yeah, you could kind of see some nods too. But as far as a formula of execution, I don't know if I could say it's better. It's just different. If it's improved because they have made it different, I think it's still to be seen. You will see you will see when season 2 gets animated, the level of depth And I think there are definitely a lot of Kubo inspirations here because you see a lot of fashion inspirations thrown into not just the character designs, but as well as the curses designs. So it's hard to say. Um, Man, it's really it's really hard to say. As far as to
Yeah.
that spotter point, I could see kind of that point because you have the curses, then you have these like spirit or these element
The paintings and stuff like
manifestations.
Shiness, yeah.
You have the cursed weapons, you have the cursed seas, like, but again, like it takes from Kubo in a way and then creates its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's better. I just think it is unique in and of itself. And that's the thing that everyone criticized JJK for at the beginning. Me too. I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, oh man, I see this anime, I see this anime. I see,
Right.
honestly, I would even go further and I would say, to me, there's a bit more, in my opinion, cherry picking from Yu Hakusho than there is from Bleach in the way that certain things are presented as far as curses
Right.
and spirits are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part was, I'll let everybody answer the first part and we can come back to the Tabitha part.
Yeah, but just to answer that question, like I feel like this is something where Gege saw something that works really, really well and is simply just doing it the way that he would envision it. Right? So I don't necessarily see it as improving or like trying to do better. It's just like, oh, this really works within anime in terms of character arcs, and this is just how I perceive it. Like, there's nothing wrong with a formula per se, because look at My Hero. My Hero is brilliantly written, but when you look at it bare bones, there's nothing special about Deku's arc when you look at it bare bones, right? Like someone who didn't have power and who now has power and is now on a path to become the greatest. We've seen it, but it's how you execute it. It's how you decide to write these characters and the positions that you put them in that makes it different. So that's how I see it. It's just like, oh, this works really well, but this is the way that I would do it. And I think he nailed it. Like it's really, really good. Now, Righteous, to answer your question, well, I'll let Sam go first and then I can answer that question.
For John's questions and not, okay, so with Gege's improved formula, I honestly think it's a little bit more into it. Yeah, the beginning and start is like the same in start of any shonen shueisha viz series of anything. The introduction of a big bad, MC's a weak character, and then you start you know, like you get, okay, so how we're gonna see the weak character starts getting more power, growing up, experiencing these life and death experiences, how he's have to mature and grown upness. Sort of say this is like, no, this is, we're gonna add a horror substance into this series as well. Like, it's like, it's more like, oh, okay, if you were to reread Bleach now, if you were to see it in a horror perspective, you could see how, like, it could be like, okay, this is actually kind of scary in a horror perspective, a horror, like, monsters of these villains in development, uh, something that nobody really noticed and seen before, but we always like, but there are ghosts and spirits and only certain people can see it. Same way with sorcerers or non-sorcerers, they can see ghosts and cursed spirits and vengeful spirits and all that stuff like that. But how I see with Jujutsu Kaisen, it's a lot, I guess, more of a scarier perspective where it's near senin horror, where like you've heard of like ghosts and spirits and curses and stuff like that, and there's been many other series that um, many mangaka that's been on Shonen Jump that's tried to do the same thing, like Phantom Seer, uh, uh,
Even
forgot
going back further, D Grayman.
D
Like I was just
Grayman.
thinking about that while you was talking about it. Like D Grayman is another one that does a very similar pathway.
Yeah, exactly. And with how Gege does it, it's more. If I were to say and compare, like, even like, if you, even for the art, it wasn't nothing. It wasn't much to compare with everybody else. But however, the execution and story of Jujutsu Kaisen that came in all together fit so well. The horror aspect, the life and death aspect as well. Because usually when we read other shonen series, like, they're not gonna kill off like main characters, certain characters right away and so forth. When it came to Gege, it's like, yeah, you don't know who's dying, who's live throughout this arc and who's gonna die throughout this entire arc. I'm gonna make it Game of Thrones style, but literally legit Game of Thrones style, where like your favorite character can die and you have never expected, and it might be the most cruelest and most like saddest way possible. And that's why like Gege does it better, because he also put enough time and effort and concentration when it comes to his own characters as well, even the side characters. When he came to I forgot his name. He was like Yuji's first best friend kind of thing. The movie guy. The guy got turned into a cursed spirit because of Mahito.
What's his name? Oh man, I can't remember his name. Yeah, you watched those previews though. You would have thought that he was about to join JJK at the end of the season. I bet you thought that he was about to. You thought he was about to get converted to light. You thought that it was about to be sweet, and it sure was not sweet.
It's to give Yuji a more like a middle finger to you, a more enhancement of evilness of this cursed spirit that you are going to be seeing for a while. And and he's not even the big bad, and the big bad was actually supporting and laughing at it, and he was like literally within the same perspective, seeing what you seeing, and just enjoying the show and watching it. And he knows
that was dynamic when they were both just laughing at Yuji like you thought that this is what wasn't gonna happen. It's so to kind of combine some of our thoughts together. I'll start with the fact that I feel like Deku is the pin to a top. Much like you said, Deku is he's the plot. He is a very strong plot device, is what he is. But again, like I said, I don't know how Deku makes it. Deku wasn't in my top 5 My Hero Academia characters until his arc that we will not talk about.
Really?
Not in my top 5. Not in my top 5. In top 10 and verse, sure, but like top 5, like he just didn't cut it to me. There was way too many other characters that I felt was way more dynamic that I wanted to see flushed out, and I did end up seeing get flushed out. For example, Red Riot. So I think again to the point I bring back to My Hero is that I feel like My Hero was excess of the that have been being adjusted over a decade, finally hitting a pivotal point. And then you take D. Gray Man, Yu Yu Hakusho, Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, etc., 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 and you funnel them into the formula around a series like My Hero Academia, The Promised Neverland, Attack on Titans, these more new gen series, and JJK then sucks that and refines it into a shorter period, because that's what happens. Yu Yu Hakusho, amazing as it is drawn out. Bleach, amazing as it is drawn out. Naruto, as amazing as it is drawn
Different
out.
time, you know.
One Piece, you see Oda change his style to fit the current format over time. Are the arcs still long? Yes, because he had the difference between what everyone else has. He had the time to build his world already. So now he can choose when to shrink and when to expand his world as necessary. So again, it's this point of like, is the dynamic feel better? Yeah, because we're living in a time where we're consumed with the thought that a series needs to be concise to a certain extent. And so this thing picked all the best parts of its predecessors, looked at its generation, its upperclassmen, and saw what was going on and was like, I understand the assignment.
James, any added formula? Anything you want to add?
No.
Oh, yeah. So I want to add a little bit more with Gege. Like the moment when a movie was coming out, Gege did what he wanted to do, even more than so. With coming into time, it's like, yeah, let's flesh out every single characters that we've seen so far in season 1, put it into this movie, give them like a good minute or two, let them shine, and every single one of them did very well. We're all full invested. We were no pace was ever slowed down. Nobody had any disinterest of anybody. I think all of it was so well done and fit together to the times. Gege just he is his own formula now. It's his own way of doing everything in his story, where like how can another mangaka follow it to have their own series that's gonna be just as popular? Like, do I need to follow the horror aspect like he does? Do I need to follow the uh, power level concept? Which I can't really see any different of power level. This is the first manga I've seen where power levels are not even fully concentrated. It's what's really concentrated. It's really about the character and the story, their emotions, their uh, every like their feeling, their experiences, their training, everything of it makes them into a well. It's not a meathead manga. It's not like Dragon Ball. It's not like a full on fight manga series. No, this is all just dark adult stuff. Very depressing story that is so very entertaining to read. It's really well put together. So are we gonna answer the questions for the second part with Black Clover, Tapatas and stuff? Because I think John says the
Yes. What Tabata does with different designs of devils and demons versus substance. Um, I just can't put Black Clover next to JJK, and that's not saying like I don't want to or one is just so much better. Both decided to take a stab at the tropes that were present in two very different ways, and I just don't see a reason to stand them next to each other. The points of emphasis in Black Clover are completely different from the points of emphasis in JJK from a storytelling perspective, from an animation and a drawn perspective. It is just completely different dynamics. I enjoy Black Clover. I love Black Clover, despite the last, several chapters that I feel are taking way too long for a series that has been high paced as it has. But every writer gets to that point, especially so with Attack on Titans, you want to end it, but you want to do the amount of justice that needs to be done for it. Whether that decision ends up being great or otherwise is still to see with Black Clover. But Black Clover is so much further along in his story. I just, again, it's the same thing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna compare Naruto to JJK. How? You can compare what the first 24 episodes? Like, what are you comparing? Because it's a different series, it's a different
Basic
time, it's a
character
different
dynamics.
base. Yeah,
Like,
it's a
that's it.
different basis of what is being done. And that's why Black Clover works. Because it is different, it is unique. That's why JJK works. It is different and it is unique. That's why other series, like even non-typical things like Haikyuu, some of the other shoujos that have been coming out that have been seeing success, they take a different direction than what their predecessors did, refined it, and then they're doing their own thing. And that's what for me, that's what I like. Because for me, if I pick up a series and I'm 5 episodes in and it feels like I'm watching or reading something that I already have, I get a little tuned out from it. Eden Zero almost lost me for that when I was reading it because it felt very fairy tale-ish. I know that he likes reusing his characters and the designs, but like the first part of that felt so fairy tale-ish. It was unbearable. And then you see it expand and you see, okay, these characters are not the same exact carbon copies. Maybe one or two characters are. He has a thing for Lucy, and I forgot what her name is in Rave Masters, but that character persona is just something
Ellie?
he seems really he seems really attached to, kind of bringing her on over generations. But again, over time, you see that in Eden Zero that again the characters are different. So if you're watching Eden Zero, you haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. Go check it out. It is the subsequent follower to the fairy tale predecessor.
I would actually ask the question: would you say because Tabata added so many characters into his story that it's not each of them are not fully fleshed out as well as Gege does with his own characters, even though it's not as many, but he fleshed it out enough where you care about this character, or you are interested on their story at a certain point. Trying to let me add to this movie, we learn more about Maki, and she is the dropout of the Zenin clan,
Right.
Yeah, which even just that one line where like we've heard about Zenin family, the clan from the anime, and then to hear that Maki is the failure of the Zenin clan makes the whole entire interest where usually we see main character who is the failure of their school or their like the power ranking and their fights and stuff. Naruto, for example, and like they start to grow and develop and strengthen and stuff. But Maki is technically the side character, so we're never gonna see them like develop and bloom. However, we see her spirit. They're fighting. How she would still fight, even though she needs certain stuff. She actually like was able to put herself as a third grade 3 sorcerer, and she's still putting her life on the line, going out there and fight in the future, and literally was also there to motivate Yuta, be like, what is your reason to be a sorcerer? What is your reason to fight? And she's like the underdog slash motivator of anybody in the spirit when it comes to the battlefield. Like you need that certain person that will bring like that would bring morale up for your entire team, and Maki is the definition of it. That's why like we're so invested in Gege's like characters and writings and all that stuff like that. So I have not read Black Clover, but I would like to ask, is there any kind of other character within the Black Clover story that's not the main character or is not the rival character or the teacher or anything that can like rival a character written build such from like Maki?
Similarity to not specifically Maki, which like I wrote earlier, Maki is my favorite character. But I will say kind of to the initial question, I think a similarity is we get seniors that are close enough that they're not fully established, so we do get the joy of seeing them developed alongside. That's something that Black Clover does well as well, where your peers, your seniors, you see them also evolve, and it's not like, oh, the main character, the main character is gonna do main character things, but you see other characters in Black Clover, even captains in Black Clover, blossom in their ability and their powers over time in the series. Of course, the queen herself, you see like even in the current chapters, you see how certain interactions are going on. So I will say that. And Mereoleona, probably close-ish to Maki in energy, like energy presented, but definitely not the same character in any kind of way or imagination.
Yeah, that brings I would say that was gonna bring my
that's why I brought up Charlotte. Like I think Charlotte's actually pretty close, like the closest to Maki if you had to make a comparison.
Yes, I really like Charlotte, so I don't have a reason to fight that very hard. I just still feel like it's dynamically different.
Because it's like you're coming from like a powerful like family, like being cursed, and then her having to push through different adversities to become as powerful as she is. Like I kind of see those similarities in their dynamics. Like if I had to make a comparison.
Yeah, maybe okay. I guess that's why I wasn't really reluctant. I think it's the origin-esque of the two are very similar. However, the personas are just so drastically different.
Okay, so what I was gonna ask in the question, like, do you feel Tabata maybe oversaturated with having so many characters, trying to have something similar, trying to touch all points of every kind of character, even if anime tropes, the comedy trope, or the underdog trope of characters, or the side characters that's motivated the growth and stuff like that? Do you think like he's done way too much compared to what Gege did and his own concentrated on his few that hits the right dynamics where people are more interested into it?
I disagree, and here's why I disagree. Where Black Clover does that for the heroes, JJK does it for the villains. You're actually still getting that same magnitude and quality of introduction and growth and development. Again, you gotta recall, even as far as the manga is concerned, behind Black Clover, like it's marginally behind Black Clover. But again, even I guess even from an animation standpoint, you're talking about hundreds of episodes versus 24 episodes. Things are yet to come. And for
Mm-hmm.
the people that have read the manga, the people who are reading the manga right now, I mean, look at the stuff that the people that we've been getting introduced to in the current arc.
There's still over like 120
It's
chapters or 200 chapters, I believe.
yeah, so there's still a substantial gap, but now we're starting to see, again, not going into the manga spoilers, but now you're starting to see, hey, I can introduce other characters. I've already shown you that I can introduce characters that you love, and there's even some characters that shown up in the recent arc that I'm just like, I don't even want to give y'all the name of the recent arc. The recent arc that is, I'm like, oh man, again back to James's point, like, oh, you really killed that character. I was kind of hoping that he came along for the journey. Oh, she really didn't use her powers the way I thought that she was going to use her powers in this part of this fight. I did not expect that. So like again, I think JJK is probably going to get there regardless. It's just whenever you have a series and it opens up to a world perspective, you have to introduce more characters regardless.
Mm-hmm. I would also add unexpected use of power or anything within the story is actually one of the formulas. Well, is one of the results that you want to have for your fan base and everything into it. So, because I think it works, having a story, a manga that doesn't go the way that you want it to, makes it that much better. Especially because you don't want to be too close of into the mind of what the mangaka is writing, or else you're gonna be bored with the results of what you're expecting it to be. And I think with everybody right now, they have their own way of writing the unexpectedness into this. Uh, Sorry, like we've really went into these questions a lot more, but Judgment at ask JJK or Bleach, and he thinks JJK is better by a large margin.
So I've been thinking about that since I saw the question, and it's not as big of a gap for me, but I technically have to say, gun to head, if I had to choose one of these series would go away forever, I would pick JJK.
I did not expect you to be on the same page with me here, James, but also gun to head. I'm sorry, and I am considering the manga right now.
Yeah.
I am considering exactly the most gun to. I'm still picking Bleach. I will always say this. I feel like Bleach is an underrated series. I understand that people don't like it, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't like Naruto. Like someone said the other day on a Facebook group, they was like, hot opinion, I would never rewatch Naruto. And I was like, I think that's everyone's opinion.
Yeah, that's
You
fine.
think that's a rare opinion, but it's actually very common. If you've watched all of Naruto, you're not going to go back and ever rewatch the Naruto series. I'm sorry, unless you're like a super, super fan. But for the most part, what you will do is go back and watch scenes because that's what Naruto did really well.
Yes.
Naruto created moments and memories that impact you.
Moments,
So
yeah.
you remember a story and be like, oh, I thought this was just a 5-minute clip, and really you just remembered a whole arc because it is written that well. I like to flame Naruto, but I love Naruto. So like again, if you hear me flaming a series, it's probably because I love it. If you hear me giving something smoke, it's probably because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm taking time to think about it a little more.
I would say, like we've discussed this before, it's literally depending on the time. I mean, we've all loved Bleach, we all love Naruto, we all love One Piece, and we all had different tastes in our lives, especially back then. And Bleach had its own like moments where it was following the same formula as Dragon Ball, so like the other big three, in its own way. It actually is an underdog, underappreciated, I feel, and like it's not really its fault. It's because it's like it's sales and everything, it's motion. It had it still has that potential and had still have this like and everything, but I feel like Gege did a better job with JJK in less amount of chapters. That I feel I like it more than Bleach because it did more in less time, as well as did not want to um if not touching anime, no fillers, no like anime tropes is only like at least one page within the entire chapter, but everything else it's with all clear and seriousness. Because sometimes you need to have some kind of gag page or a gag chapter, just some comedy relief to help you cool down from a very high arc that's been very, very impressive, and then it ends, and then you just need to wind down and like give me some like easy to read chapters at this moment before we start back up again. um I think Gege had a better consistency of motion in chapters where it's not too high up, but when it's something that's peak, I know how to slowly decline down where it still catches your interest. You're getting enough information, you're getting enough details of certain characters, and then like next thing you know, you're like the curve is about to come back up again with more climax and more of its character sides and the sort of
So
stuff.
here's what I will say to that, Sam. If Bleach was to be released right now, it would be paced completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And my logic backing that is, what was the one shot that we got from Kubo? What was the name of it again?
Burn the Witch?
Burn the Witch. I would take Burn the Witch first 12 episodes over JJK first 12 episodes. It's not even animated right now.
Okay.
I'm telling you right
It
now.
animated. It did animate the first.
Oh yeah, it did animate. They did animate the
three-
first six,
3 episodes,
three.
which was
Was it
literally
three?
the entire one shot of.
Yeah,
Burn the
we got
Witch.
we got the one shot capsulated into animation. 3 episodes of Burn the Witch, 3 episodes of JJK. That's a better comparison to me. I will take Burn the Witch. I am so upset that I haven't gotten more Burn the Witch.
So I don't mind the pacing because it's different times, like we've already talked about. For
Yeah,
me,
right.
the reason why I pick JJK is I like more characters in JJK than Bleach, and overall, I think
Fair.
JJK is better written overall in terms of the universe, the characters. I think JJK is simply better written than Bleach. I care more about the character motivations in JJK compared to Bleach. And those are things that I like in any medium more than anything, period. Like, there's a lot of movies that have terrible, like, Rotten Tomato scores, but if they're really good, like, character stories, like, I'm more partial to those types of stories. So for me personally, I just think JJK is better written in terms of, like, character development and universe building.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked JJK.
Yeah, like I said, gun to head for sure. Go ahead and get rid of Bleach. I love Bleach, but go ahead and get rid of Bleach. But like I said, to me, it would be more fair to compare it to something that is of a similar time frame of release. And again, like I said, if you gave me 3 I what I wanted from JJK, I wanted it even more from Burn the Witch. I really want, it had nothing to do with callback to Bleach in any kind of way. All it had to do was the design, the story, the way that they presented it in those, we'll just talk about the episodes, those 3 episodes felt way more compelling and drew me in a whole lot more than I personally felt with JJK. JJK still did an amazing job. It is very much so way ahead of its time as far as what it done. Like I said earlier, it took the current process and it took the old methods and the old stuff and it just took it and refined it. So like, yeah, I expect it to be better to some extent. Obviously, if you told me to pick up and reread JJK from start to finish right now, I would. Would I pick up Bleach again? Would I rewatch Naruto from start to finish?
Probably no.
Would I read Bleach again from start to finish? No, I don't even really want to reread the final arc that's about to be animated. Like I genuinely just want, like, for that, I just want to enjoy it because I've already put it behind me. It's such a different, even for me, it's such a different point in time in my life. That's literally, is that a decade ago that Bleach finished? I'm 31. That's not 21-year-old me. That's not 21-year-old me's ability to read and interpret and understand content. It may have been great, but it ain't no comparison to me right now.
So
Right.
I also want to bring back, like, even Kubo wrote that one shot for Bleach, which was the epilogue, and you can tell a difference between that one single one shot chapter throughout the entire series. He literally changed. He literally caught up with the time and story.
Kubo would do it different.
I'm sure he had the
you.
idea. He definitely had this idea. This idea was there in development, but it could have that should have been into its final arc. But no, unfortunately, like, he wasn't allowed to. And the moment when he pushed out this one shot, we all see that potential of what we could have had if he had the time and everything and investment into it. But again, from what John said, there was a lot
Come
of
on,
creative.
John.
There was a lot of creative filler within Bleach, and it's
It was it
very
was it was the formula though, and that's the sad part is that it was the formula. It was the formula that every 25 chapters you had to get a beach scene chapter. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I don't know if y'all remember like how those were even stylized. So you remember when they used to like Blue Lock does it. They announced like the whole volume and the expectations of what like, hey, this is a chapter, this is a chapter. You kind of knew that you were gonna get to the end of one set of things, the end of one volume, and you knew you was gonna get that training arc, that beach arc, that little silly whatever comedy, whatever chapter that was gonna get thrown in there.
The formula,
Breaking the fourth wall, whatever, because that was the only time that the artist got their chance to be original. Oda does it with the front cover pages of his volumes. He gets to throw in a little bit of side story and jokes. He gets to animate some of the suggestions from the fan at the beginning of the chapter, and then he goes back right into his stuff. So yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, also John, once again, you are gratitude.
Thank you for the $5 donation. Him speaking about pacing, do you feel between the current pacing of Hirokoshi and the final arc, Osayama versus Gege, saying the final arc is a year out, maybe? Sorry, I was trying to understand the question he was asking.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I'm going to say that I'm a little skeptical, even from an animation standpoint, because of what was done with Promised Neverland. Because I feel like Promised Neverland was actually really well written.
Now, why would you say that name?
I just want to throw it out there. I genuinely, I've never. We talk about old series that we want to get like redone or like have a change. Before we get to any of those, please go rectify what season. I had a conversation with my bro Damien, and I told him, I was like, it was supposed to be a season, a movie, and maybe a final season of a movie or one long final season. That's what Promised Neverland was supposed to give us. We already see that JJK is doing it right. So I don't fear it as much, but I also still want to give grace. I don't think this story is finishing in a year. I think we got like a good, if I have to put a number on it, maybe 3.5 years, maybe a little sooner, depending on the direction that they want to go. Like if they chose to ramp up the pacing right now, I could see it maybe finishing in 2 years. But based off of the current pacing, it's not finishing right now. It's not.
Yeah, I would say 2.5 max.
Yeah, it's closer to 3 years for sure.
Because I think any more, you're just going on too long. Just end it at that point.
John
finality.
John had asked this, like, does rushing to finalize do more harm than good?
Rushing to finalize in regards to the manga or the animation, because those, I feel like those end up having two very different effects. Again, I'm glad I brought it up. I don't understand why the decision with Promised Neverland was made. And I don't think there's anything that anybody could do to justify that decision for me. It is such an injustice to the series. Another example, God of High School. Why did you do that to your series? Why did you gut the core of your series out of animation? Why?
Was because that was an executive
I know why.
note. Right.
I know why. I've read the notes and looked at the interview. But again, like we again, and this is my point to JJK, why JJK is so good to me. Stand up for your series. I know it's a lot harder for the younger mangakas. I know it's a lot harder, even more so for the female mangakas. I know it's even harder for them in the industry, and the way things are set up over there is very polarizing when you're not one of the established names and voices. However, when you have good content, when you listen to the feedback from your fans, when you do the right things in the process, you can produce. I think we should expect more high quality work like JJK. And I always tag people and I say, this is the thing. I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't like sports anime, but Haikyuu, chef kiss. Talk about storytelling. Talk about finalizing and closing a story where it needs to be closed and not dragging it beyond. Talk about if you read Haikyuu, all I'm gonna say is you would have expected where the first year of school ends that you would have gotten a very different series of steps that led to the end of Haikyuu. You would have expected a very different series of steps, but knowing your substance, knowing what you've done well, and know where you want to end your story. I feel like that's also important. I feel like sometimes a lot of mangakas get under the pressure more so than the rushing, get under the pressure of their fans of feeling like, oh, I need to do it this way, or I'll write it this way, but I got like these other endings. I'll reanimate it a different way. Dragon Ball Super, the Tournament of Power written is a completely different tournament. I don't even know what I read. I don't know. It was so different. People were so upset the way Gohan was treated, but Gohan in the manga is fire. He has not done a disservice in the manga. He has absolutely not done a disservice in the manga for Dragon Ball Super. But in the anime, it's like, oh, he's there. I guess. You kind of question why certain people are even on the team when you watch it in the anime. But when you read the manga, it's like, oh, Master Roshi's on this team for a reason. Krillin on here for these androids. Like everyone's on the team for a reason, a very like blatant reason. So for those that didn't know, the manga was adapted after the animation, after the anime. So obviously time to refine the way that you felt like executing on certain things. Very different than how we normally get a lot of different things. Blue Exorcist is another series where it's like we got animation and then we got story afterwards. And there's always going to be ups and downs to that. You can improve on stuff, but then you also change the dynamic of certain things that you've written by changing to improve. So it's I don't know. Point in case is I think we as fans need to support our mangakas better. I think the mangakas need to stand their ground. I think that it's okay for a series to not be finished. I think it is a trademark and a staple to say that if you can get to the end, then that's amazing. But that's not the reality for every series, and that's okay. But I think if we stand behind our mangakas more, we got World Trigger back after almost a whole decade. Granted, World Trigger goes month to month, so that pacing is obviously different as far as chapter releases is going. But again, I think if a series is good enough, Shonen Jump keeps series on that are good. They know that it's good. So for them to then go from saying, hey, your manga is good to I will animate that, Shonen Jump knows what they're doing. They know what they're doing. But we have to, like I said, especially in the times that we live in now, we have to give our mangakas better backing. I would love more of our our manhwas, our manhwa writers, our light novel writers. I would love more of our writers. I would all of our webtoon writers. I need y'all to have more social media presence. I need y'all to come to more events, more conventions. Don't be afraid to animate things. Don't be afraid to go ahead and have I read the end of some of these webtoons and the fan interaction is amazing. Even sometimes you find I've seen like back in the day, I've seen Kishimoto go and you can tell that he read comments after the release of the series. So I think we just need more of that. I think we really need more of that.
James, any input? And I want to add, John thinks the AOT ending was a fumble.
Yeah, I was gonna address that. So to answer the first question, I do think if your intent is to rush just to get to finality, that can definitely hurt your series. My Hero Academia, I think the pacing has been great. I think Horikoshi has a plan. He has a true ending in sight. And I'm excited for that ending to come. Everything that we've been going through with Shigaraki and Deku, it is clear that it is coming to an end. And I think trying to extend past this would be a huge mistake. And that would ruin the series. As far as Attack on Titan, all of these things are subjective. Like, there's a lot of people that don't like the ending. I love the ending because it's what Isayama wanted. I don't have a problem with it. We look at a lot of movies and how things reflect real life. It's not all sunshines and rainbows. Sometimes all you can do is focus on winning the day and keeping your people safe and then moving on from there. It's not always going to be how you want it to be wrapped up. So I really appreciated the ending of Attack on Titan. I would not argue with people that didn't like the ending because it is what it is. But I do feel like Attack on Titan was paced well and it ended where it needed to end. I don't think there was anything you could have done to keep going without overextending your welcome. So I think definitely going on, trying to rush to finality because you don't want to be a long running series like One Piece can be detrimental. But if you do have the entire story in mind and it's done well, yeah, I want the ending. I like finality. I like being able to look at a story and see that it's complete. Fucking Claymore is one of my favorite mangas, favorite anime of all time. You get in, you have the story, you get out, and it's done. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, you get in, you have this incredible story, this incredible journey, and then you just fucking end it. Like, it all depends.
You rather better than like having an incredible series, given a story that's long running, and unfortunately the mangaka passed away, like Berserk, and we'll never know the ending. We will know how. Well,
And you know what? Berserk is still so well written that I will forever say this. I'm okay with where Berserk was forced to end. Literally. And I think they knew, and I think that's why there was so much intentionality over the past years to kind of, here's where this character is. I'm gonna bring this character. I don't want to spoil for anyone that,
mhm.
again, I'm trying to be conscious here, but I think that they knew and they brought it to a point where it was like, okay, at least I'm giving you this. If nothing else, I have sealed this. You know where this is. If somebody else later on with a great mind wanted to come up and do some type of spin-off, that would be cool. I think to your vigilante point, I've said this before. I think vigilante is an over. I think vigilante is overs. I think vigilante can be thrown in at any point in the My Hero Academia world right now or after, and it will not be a problem. That is one of the unique beauties of that mangaka. As far as Attack on Titans, I hated the ending when I first read it. Now that I've sat with it for so long, much to James' point, I'm okay. I think my frustration was that I watched a series where it was hard to predict things for a very long time. And then there came a point where I knew exactly the way it was about to end. I could have written the ending. And that's not no disrespect to the mangaka. I knew where, from the point of because it's been animated now, from the point of meeting Ymir and coming back out of that state, I knew exactly where the series was going. I knew exactly what jumps was going to happen. I knew exactly what calls were going to happen. I knew all of Aaron's intentions and motives. I understood every single thing. Nothing he told me was a surprise for the rest of the series. Unfortunately for me, that doesn't make the series bad. That's just, I'm a hypercritical reader, and that's on me. But again, the story could have taken so many different turns. But I think that's also the beauty of a good series is I'm satisfied with the ending. I could think of a world of other different endings I would have loved to see. But ultimately,
Same.
what I wanted was destruction. And what I got was destruction. Not to the extent that I wanted it, not as much as I envisioned it. Again, there was a lot of things that even in those last recent episodes, it's like there's things shown as like, oh man, you could have elaborated on that more. But again, end your series where it needs to end.
Right.
I almost think Attack on Titan just by a little bit stretched a little farther than they needed to. just like maybe by like 3 chapters, stretch just a little bit
You
further.
think? Okay.
I think the same story could have been a little, you know that he has a tendency to get a little wordy with his explanations. I feel like it
Right.
was possible to maybe like shrink that down a little bit and then just give us that dialogue in the animation instead.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. Like, there's so many other, and I like you. I saw the ending coming miles away. I was like, all right, well, this is the path that Isayama has chosen, and I'm along for the ride. And when it ends, it ends, and I was okay with it. And again,
Mhm.
like you, there's a bunch of other endings that I would have preferred, that I would have written, but I'm not Isayama. And he's given us an incredible story from beginning, and if that's how he wanted to end it, I'm okay with that because there's nothing wrong with the ending. But like you, I did see it coming, and for a series that's just filled with ambiguity, it's like, oh yes, like you look at like the first couple of volumes, I know exactly where this is going, and then a shift happens, and then it's like, oh shit, I have no idea what the fuck's happening. And then another shift happens, and it's like, wait, I really don't know what's happening.
Yep.
And then there's another shift and another one.
And the
And then you
intentionality
expect
behind every step of the way. So like the only, I'll be quite frank, the only other series that has that level of intentionality that deep in the series is One Piece. Oda will call back to something from corner panel 5 in the middle of the first chapter right now. Like right now in the series, he will call something that was like, you did not think it was relevant, but everything with the intentionality of the way Oda does things is just beautiful. I think the same thing with Attack on Titan. The reason I was frustrated is because of how well it was written. I wouldn't have been able to imagine those different possibilities without them giving me the foundation for that. Like they had to twist me and turn me. He made my mind want to see other realities by the way that the story had been written to that point.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know.
Attack on Titan's a GOAT. Again, I like I said earlier when I mentioned it, 20, 50 years from now, we will recall Attack on Titans as one of the greats.
Oh yeah, one of the greatest stories literally ever told. Like, without question.
I do like to add. I would like to bring up a suggestion. Like once the anime airs its final episode, maybe within like 2 or 3 weeks from now, we can start talking about Attack on Titan as a whole with its manga and anime comparison as well, like we've done here with JJK.
Anime onlys are going to lose their shit coming up in these last couple of episodes.
They are already losing their shit.
They already lost their shit.
Already
I know, but it's like
shit.
I'm talking about one specific thing where we get to see multiple things happening, and it's
again,
like,
and so like, again, God. that's why I said, like, I feel like, okay, maybe if it didn't end 3 chapters sooner, maybe the last 3 chapters needed to be a little more fleshed out. Maybe just the last 2, actually. Maybe those should have been a little more fleshed out. But I feel like the problem was that I feel like at that point you're getting sentimental. And again, so I feel like you said, I feel like it was the right decision. I feel like when I objectively look at it, when I take my feelings out of it, when I take my biases out of it, it's like, no, it makes sense. Anything else here would have been just extra. I don't know what else could have been done where everyone would have been satisfied besides extending it even further and hoping that you successfully extended it.
That would have been a mistake.
Ooh, you want me one last gotta rag on them. You know what I hate? You know whose ending I hate as far as a manga is concerned? 7 Deadly Sins.
I haven't read it because I've heard it's terrible. I haven't read it.
Don't do it to yourself.
Don't do it to yourself. Sam and Vash
don't do it to yourself.
Complain about it ending and then like not ending and then like not ending again, and
don't do it to yourself.
Just the most. I felt so insulted as a reader. I've never seen. I'm not even gonna get into it.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah,
end your series. End your series to the point of the matter. End your series when it's supposed to be ended on a positive note, on a dark note, whatever. I'm all for ending series on a dark note. Promise Neverland does not end on a happy note per se.
No.
It feels happy, but in reality, it's not. The weight of what happens for everyone, and it's kind of like you kind of figure that might have been what was going to happen, but you have no reason to believe it based off of the way the story is told. And again, I bring that up because that's kind of what I was expecting from the ending of Attack on Titans, was to be pulled in a direction, pulled a different way, expect something, and then boom, something I completely didn't even think was going to be the best way ends up being the best way. But again, it's not my story. Like James said, I am not writing that story, so it's not on me.
Once like the anime finished airing and I fully binge the entire series and not just this final arc, I think it'd be a lot better to binge the entire series as a whole for the entire full experience of you got your full beginning, the full middle, and then your full end. And
I'm waiting for the anime to be done, and then I'm starting episode 1.
That might be the only way to justify if you feel like the ending was good or not for you personally. But that's you personally, not the mangaka, not Isayama's ending, like how he wants it. You can feel what you want to feel, but that's his ending.
So I rewatched when pivotal things that were happening now were happening in the manga. I rewatched the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titans. So I already went back and filtered through my thought process around what was going on. And again, I think that's why I kind of saw where the ending was going. But also real quick, yes, Kingdom, top tier. Chef Kiss. I have not read Kingdom for 3 months. I'm about to binge read the mess out of Kingdom. It is so good.
I know we've been sidetracking a lot of JJK Zero movie, and we've been talking a lot
Yeah.
with the manga series. But it gives us projects to do to work on like future ideas for the next following episodes. Because I think this is more better to do on the Anime Lately podcast more than Shonen Ronin, because this is there's so much like good content and stuff that came to end. Like Attack on Titan ended last like almost 2 years ago, and I feel like we haven't really like we all as a
It's been
group.
2 years.
It's about 2 years.
We just started another year this summer for Promised Neverland, Haikyuu, and Attack on Titans. 2 years.
So yeah, I think it's appropriate in time where we can spill everything, especially for the manga watchers now, because they will get the official ending. And
I lie. Attack on Titans is a year.
a year.
Attack on Titans, yeah, because it was
Yeah, it
the
was
top of last year that I was in discourse about like why is it going in this direction, and we had just got announced the final season last year, which everyone that was reading was like, ha, 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 final season.
But yeah, okay. But we'll definitely talk Attack on Titan as a whole in series, and hopefully with more of our gang to talk about in this entire series of it, their thoughts, their opinions, and that might actually go on for a very long time. But expect it. I just want to rewind and coming back into the JJK's movie.
It was all relevant, Sam. We didn't derail. We were just strongly comparing everything to JJK is the standard right now. That's what it is. JJK is the standard right now.
Now that's gonna be hard. It's more like any new stuff that comes out. It's gonna be hard to compare how to top the standard.
I mean, that's what happens when you got that number one in the class. All the light and the attention is on you. They want to compare you to everybody else. It's the LeBron James syndrome. This man is out here breaking records, and still he's not wanting. People don't want to consider them the GOAT. Like, it's okay. He's just gonna break every single record, and then I guess you won't have a point to argue after that.
Yo, John, it's all good. That's literally why we do the show live, so that we can talk to you guys live and just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Like, it's okay that we got a little bit derailed, but
we kind of derailed a lot, but now it's more like, all right, do we have anything more left to say about the movie now after this entire tangent? And it's like we're all having any final thoughts into this, but there was so much within the JJK Zero movie. Every single character had their time to shine. Toge had his great moments of using more of his curse speech technique, which was actually very cool.
I love that shit, man.
To see Yuta himself doing it, and then with the microphone, it's like
shit. I was like, yes.
Comparing to like we had a taste of what this could do when Toge did it to those like smaller versions of the spirits, and it was just a whole bunch of just like implode. I was like, what?
That's another thing that the movie does way better than the manga. It's just like it's a bigger scale. The explosions are bigger. There's more explosions.
Lots more explosions.
This is what you want. You want to take what's on the page and just make it better in every way, shape, or form. And I can say that the movie elevates every single moment from the manga in every way possible.
It also helped elevate it. Like it's a crazy powerful curse. However, there's also a drawback where you're gonna lose your voice every single time you talk. We've heard Panda explained a little. Toge is a little bit just like you, Yuta. He had almost the same experience of a past where because he couldn't control his own curse technique. People that he loved died and got hurt, and like that's why he only talks like sushi ingredients. And then you see him going to the store buying the throat medicine. And then the whole you fit Yuta into the story where you have Yuta fight hand-to-hand combat a little bit just so that he can reach for the medicine, and Toge could just finish the job with his own like And like even like before that, he said like get twisted, like literally the arm and technique. Like oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah, and again, you also get this insight of the scaling of the power. So it's like I can completely destroy something, or I can target destroy something or space. So you definitely got to see that a lot better. I think I think it was Eunice for Black Girls Anime had tweeted earlier about like it would have been cool to see them doing sign language. It was like a sub point to like talking about Boji, but I feel like being practical again is kind of like, but then they're not using their voice, and that's the whole point of their ability. And I think even the fact that they have to speak in sushi ingredients is them limiting the amount of speech that they could use, which is why they're even getting that kickback from the soreness, because you see that there isn't that much of a lashback for Yuta when that's displayed. So I feel like there's different things. There's different things there. But I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was another cool point of like, if you've seen Ranking of Kings, that Boji can't speak at all. And again, kind of coming back to like you again, everyone's writing their characters in a way that is unique to their understanding and experiences. These mangakas don't just write things and then just put it out there. A lot of them really sit down, even if they think of it immediately, they sit back and they go do research, they go reference people, they go reach out to doctors, reach out to you know how many mangakas I've seen for like sports anime talk about like going and talking to like a physical therapist, a sports physical therapist, talking to actual athletes and gaining that kind of understanding from them. So yeah, again, I feel like we need to give our mangakas more credit, but I would also like to see our mangakas come forward and do more to be given some more money and time to come and speak on things more publicly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm all for your agreement with that. It's also great to see like if Gege incorporating his characters also fitting more towards his world as well, because learning different new powers and having their own drawbacks and limits helps. Uh, it helps level the playing field of everybody, and it helps like like he could be a very op he is a very op character. However, the more you use this, the less life expectancy gets smaller and smaller.
Right.
And like yeah, you can like we don't know when, how, or what's this last final moment this character will have until his final stand, his uses his last of his powers to sacrifice himself to protect others. Maybe it's not just a shonen trope. It's kind of those like last heroes kind of stuff in this development. We're gonna get that with Toge, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially when more into his world, like Yege's world. It's like we don't know what word. Every word contains its own kind of curse, and love is like one of like we've seen results because of Yuta, one of the most biggest and twisted and most emotional roller coaster of feeling it is. We just call it love. We don't understand it. We don't truly know what it is, but we can see how dangerous and twisted it can be, and using that kind of element into your world. I, I've never seen this before. Anybody like using love as a power. We only see that as like couples getting together. Oh, we have the power of love. We have the care.
Right.
No, this is
the power of being in love rather than
Right.
you know.
We've never
Yeah.
seen it be used like this.
And
I really
and
appreciate that.
I will say this tending towards manga territory without saying anything. You see, I'll give you a little bit of spoiler. You'll see in the flushing out of the Zenin clan how love has dangerous ramifications.
and it's
Right.
like and it's almost opposite hatred as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't align with the Jedi, but this is exactly why they put aside emotions in order to walk the path for these exact reasons.
That's that's a good comparison actually.
I mean, yeah,
That's a great
what it is.
comparison.
But to bring it back to Yuta real quick, one thing that the movie adds that I really, really like is the scene between Yuta and Gojo inside of the room with all of the cursed weapons. For me, that was just a really good moment for Gojo as a mentor to say, "Hey, I know that you're struggling with even knowing how to use this power, so pick a weapon and imbue that weapon with just a little bit of that power, and just as you use it you can learn what it feels like and you can add more power into it." That was a great moment for Yuta that comes full circle towards the end of the film. It was a great moment of showing Gojo as a coach, like I mentioned before. So I just love all of these different additions. Like, it just adds so much more characterization to Yuta as a person and as a sorcerer. Like, his entire motivations is being able to be useful to his friends, to protect his friends. Like, the reason why he went to Jujutsu High School is because what Gojo said, like, being alone is lonely. And he didn't have a response for that. He didn't want to be alone. So
Right.
it's like now he has these friendships, this sense of family, and he's going to do everything it takes to protect them. And I it speaks to me so much, man. I fucking love this shit.
It's also again a testament to just future things that will come, resources that JJK has, connections that JJK has. So a call back to the first season. We don't know the origins from episode 1. We're given this hint of like, let me tell you about your parent, and we've never revisited that. We've not revisited even to this point. I'll let y'all know, 130 plus chapters in, we've not revisited again. There's things that
Pointless.
will still need to be rectified at some point in time. But again, to see in this movie how, oh, if they wanted to know something, they'll know it. If they need to, we see the the paycheck scene. It's like, oh, my payment came through. Like, again, we see that this world is so much more intricate and layered into the ecosystem of what we consider to be the normal world. It's not just a complete separation. Like, sometimes I feel like you watch certain series and the world of the story seems like such a departure from the reality that we currently exist in. It's like, no, I almost feel like this could be a thing. I feel like this, like, there might be a JJK somewhere. There might be a Jujutsu High somewhere that I may not know about, because these things seem to translate so well. And I feel like instead of it being a take on um the power of being in love, instead of it being a take on love as a plot armor, no, it's love as a power. It is the empowerment, isn't the embody, literally an embodiment of love in the
Facts.
best and the worst ways possible. And that
Mm-hmm.
scene at the end where Rika is like, don't be sad, like, you literally gave me the best last few years of my life. You understand? And like, even for her to be able to conceptualize that behind, you're cursed into a spirit, but you still completely remain your consciousness and sanity. Again, these are the things that are pretenses of what the power of love is, because it's so much more than just being in love. It doesn't stop and start with the fact that they were in love with each other, and it's not just a one-sided love, because part of the way in, you start to think that it's some type of creepy one-sided love. Honestly, you
Mm-hmm.
start to think like, did Rika really love so bad that she turned herself into a curse to keep pursuing? Because
Right.
that's also the way that we often portray women in our world. Again, like, the reality of the way that the emotions are captured is so beautiful. And that's why, like I said earlier, to me, that's two of my favorite points, is the fact that Rika is so much more flushed out in the movie. And I really love the fact that, like, you really, like, I really, more so than when I read it, I really understood that love was the undertone. If you go and you rewatch the movie, if you haven't watched the movie yet, keep the idea of love in your mind. Not being in love, just keep the idea of love. Think
That
about the love that you feel for your family, your friends, just love in general. Keep that idea in your head as you're watching it again or watching it for the first time. And I feel like you'll see a very different um undertone to the story as you watch it. You'll see decisions make a little bit more sense. Um you'll feel empathy for people that you may not have thought that you needed to feel empathy for.
I was gonna say, like, you actually hit it on the nail within this, like, the plot of Yuta's love. Did we was it really both sided love, but it seemed more one sided?
One-sided,
The
right?
moment where you see Yuta, like, I figured, like, Rika has protecting me, And I know she's doing it out of love and all that stuff like that. But then what if I'm the one that cursed her? My one-sided love made her into a monster, and it's now this monster. Do I want to get rid of? Like, no, now I want to free her from this one-sided love I have for her because I've imprisoned her and trapped her in. Slowly, then you go into what I'm gonna bring up. What John says: passion does lead to hate. James, at least according to Yuta, it's very true. Because the Yuta's motivation was to protect his friends, so they don't hurt anymore. They don't like have to die. They are someone. There are people. There are a group of people that he wants to protect. And then when we see Geto like beat them all up, Maki's near death experience, you see the hate from Yuta, his anger and everything, literally. And we've been saying since
you've harmed my loved one. It's love. It's hate, but it's love.
Which is exactly why Gojo sends them to trigger Yuta.
And like it literally, like we said in the beginning, the emotion that Yuta had for Geto, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, like I'm killing you, you have to die. I'm fucking killing you for what you did. Compared to Geto,
this is something else that the anime does better than the manga. Like it plays up his rage, his sadness, hatred.
I didn't feel like he was angry in the manga. I just feel like he was irritated. He was maybe more angry with himself. It felt like when I was reading it, then when I watched it, where it was like, oh, this is targeted anger.
Yeah, this is and you
pure
also malice.
See,
like
you see the training, you see all these different things, so you get to bond with them, bonding with each other. So it's so different.
Then the coordinated attacks with like him with Yuta and Rika working together. It's in the manga in like 2 pages, but in the movie they really play into it where
they fleshed it out.
Follow my lead, and watching them work together. It's like, man, dude.
I mean, I would say the same thing for the Besto Friendo fight, fight of the year. I would say the same thing for that. It is written very differently than it is animated. I knew it would, like reading it back, like I see it, but like had I read it first and then watched it, I would have never expected to be as dynamic as it was. And like I said when we were talking about it, when we were doing the Crunchyroll Wars, it's like the fight's not just a scene. The fight's actually a couple episodes, and it starts at this point and then it ends with this giant purple flare across the screen.
I really love that last fight where like we set it all together within this. First it was the power. I'm gonna start with power friendship with Yuta seeing his friends getting beat up compared to Geto's usual normal strength that he's used that easily beaten all 3 of them. Even with Toge, like literally uses words curse to literally crush him. We see gifs now of Geto like boom straight up being literally human would have been crushed. Now he survived. He was good. He was feeling it, and then literally still beat them all up. And then it comes to the level of hate, and Yuta directed his own hate through Rika. It's like, I hate this guy. You hate this guy? Yes. I was like, now he needs to die, and he needs to die. It's like, oh shit.
Another thing that the movie does better than the manga, because in the manga he says, yes, I hate him, but in the movie it's I loathe him. It's just more. It's just more emotion. Like it feeds into these moments so much better. Like it's probably one of the best like adaptations from like manga to screen. Like, and it's crazy.
From that, it was what Geto using the cloud, the nunchakus, the cloud, onto him, going 1-on-1, and then the animation, the flex, the everything. Geto breaking the sword. And in that brief moment, unexpectedly, that's not in the manga, the black flash from Yuta that punched into like, shit, that's Black Flash.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like you think about the anime and it's just like you get these snippets of things, and somehow as a precursor, the movie emphasizes and ties in these points of the lore so well. Again, call back to the end of the season. Megumi's domain, like, oh, the reason you're not tapping into your power as well as you are is because you're a little too stable in the head. When you have strong feelings like love and they drive you to the point of hating somebody, when rationale escapes you, when you're willing to throw your entire life away to make it work, that is the level of intensity and passion that needs to be present for you as a Jujutsu sorcerer to bring out your apex. And it's something that obviously all sorcerers who are able to do a domain expansion have to kind of experience. And he kind of points it out
Which
again,
I'm.
talking to Sam's point, where it's like, having like episodes that are a waste but not in JJK. You
Mhm,
thought that baseball game was a waste? Oh no, that was a lesson for Megumi.
mhm.
That baseball game was a lesson for Megumi, to point out something to Megumi that we as the audience have already seen as a character flaw with him. And then it's like, oh, it's not a character flaw, it's character intent. It is for your growth and your purpose, and you need to understand that now. And then immediate ramifications of that conversation, immediate gratification of being able to be like, you know what, Sensei, I think I get what you're saying. And he does his incomplete domain expansion. Um, and then even for the manga readers, that that's still not even fully flushed out. So no one forced it to a certain level of like, okay, he did it once, so now he's a master kind of thing. That's a slight spoiler there, but to the point of, again, the good writing, where it's like, you're not forcing anything, you're really considering the pacing of what's going on in your series, you're really considering the consequences and the actions of the fights. And again, all of what's happening ties back specifically to the movie. And again, like, if you were hyped for JJK season 2 from watching the first season, when JJK season 2 drops, and if you have not watched the movie by then, you are doing yourself the biggest injustice.
I see that. Yeah.
You're doing yourself the biggest injustice. It's not canonical, it's not in sequence.
Mm-mm.
However, it is important to tie everything. Will you get it? Yes. Will you see it? Will it make sense? Yes. But having that movie, having that zero,
It helps.
and then seeing everything that plays up to the end of season 1, and exactly, because again, I'm very confident about what the first 2 episodes of season 2 are going to be, and I'm very confident about how high paced and how tumultuous the season 2 is going to go. The question is really how many episodes do they get, and where do they decide to put a cutting point? That's all I want to know at this point, because there's just so much content there. But yeah, this movie, again, if you have not seen it, please go see it. If you're waiting for the movie to come to home, sure, but please make sure you watch it before season 2 comes out. Please,
Mhm.
please, please don't put it so far in the back burner that you're in the middle of season 2, because by the time you get to, I promise you, by the time you get to the middle of season 2, you would have missed some core points by not having watched JJK Zero.
Yeah.
I was just gonna add to, like, I'm kind of glad the movie did not go in more with domain expansion, because, like, no, this is gonna be about everybody in their own base form fighting, as well as what they're able to capable of. How.
But we
It
we
would
read
take away
why.
from the story too.
We read why the
Mhm.
very next couple of days in America, anyways. In America, we read exactly why that was not in the movie. We know exactly why it was not in the movie. And again, it's the intentionality behind it, the steps that are being taken with this series is just beautiful.
It's, this movie had so many great levels and powers to match. Did not waste any time. Up to the final point with Geto using Uzumaki and his 3,000 over 3,000 spirits combined into this one
4,000.
blast to try to kill.
It's over 9,000.
Compared to the emotion of love as a power, which was
Pure love.
it's pure love. And it's like, I'm willing to sacrifice everything of myself just for you, to break the maximum. And Geto said it. He realized it, and better for the audience. You're like, you asshole, you playboy. You are literally like, are you just saying, like, I'm willing to give up myself for love, for this entire power? No, this is pure love, my man. I've like
Selfish. This ain't nothing selfish. I'm doing this for the love of my life. Oh, also, John, last thing I'm gonna take from you, but on that Mangenkyo point, to the earlier point that we were making, it's the opposite side of chaos that we're typical of seeing. We're so accustomed to seeing the hatred first and then the love. Like, that's just, like, to me, that's so typical. But like I said, that's where again, this idea of the light side of chaos for me with JJK Zero is so relevant, because again, it's it's not, yes, it seems like it's the hatred, but and in that specific instance, you could say, yeah, like, it's, the Nine Tails awakening or the Sharingan awakening from a tragic experience. But the truth is, there's a buildup of love that we are shown, and that's what is That's what makes you as the audience, us as the audience, even feel like I was angry. I loaded him. I also wanted him to die. Like I did. I absolutely did. Like I can't believe that that's a direction that you chose to take this in your pursuit of justice.
I agree. Usually we always have two conflicts of justice versus justice, but no, this is your justice versus my love for everything. My friends, my love for Rika, and then in spirit, enough where like I'm willing to die for this. Like the moment he made the deal of, yeah, I'm willing to die for this, the sacrifice of this for Rika. Hopefully it breaks your cycle of the curse, and I don't have to continue being. I'm willing to give this all up for even my life. No more loneliness. Just ending cursing each other for this to break, so that everybody can live and survive into this moment. And yeah, it literally met in each level of each anticipation. It was great. And like, you know what's funny? Like even with the scene where Geto was still alive, even though his arm was ripped off, and he's bloody to the head, nobody really like my brother doesn't believe that Geto is dead. Dead. Like Gojo didn't kill him and stuff. But we did see the it fade to black, and then we all heard the the slash noise, right, indicating that he killed him.
I mean, we know what happens. I mean,
But like it was there. Yeah,
we know what
know, of course. But for the
We know
movie,
what
for the movie watchers and spoilers,
Yes.
like yeah, that scene was there to include like yeah, a death has happened. But you know, like we can't go even more. We can't go more into this yet because you know that's gonna go into manga territory spoilers. Maybe during a Shonen Ronin, we're gonna connect the manga and the movie spoilers because it's been focusing on Yuta. Like it's like the timing for all of it has been impeccable. Just from the starting of the movie coming out on December 24th to Christmas Eve in Japan to indicate where yeah Geto like used his he did the whole Hell's Parade, I think he's called it, like his the date of where he released all his cursed spirits, it was 4,000 cursed spirits, and then the whole incident of Rika coming out for the second time for this mission and everything.
Ooh, that Sam is going there. Sam is going there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go too much. I won't go too far with it, but the timing of also the manga currently focused now for the past 2 months or at least month and a half, I believe, on Yuta.
It's a month.
Yeah, I apologize for the spoilers, but we are going to be seeing Yuta again in the main JJK series. Which why not? You enjoying the movie, you love Yuta as a character. Why can't we're gonna see more? Like this is. It'll have you more invested within to JJK, and yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm willing to jump into some more theories and stuff in Shonen Ronin if we do end up doing that. But whew, JJK Zero, watch it, watch it now.
Yeah, don't like. You guys are lucky. You didn't have to read it. You guys get to watch it and then read it afterwards.
Yes, watch it and read it. Don't vash, Sam.
I have not vashing.
You're vashing.
I mean, I just gave a hint. Like we're seeing this continuing character in the future. Oh man, I didn't want to be spoiled. Surprise! I never said when.
yeah, he's around at the end, and he'll show up again at some point for things.
Nope, we had already established that he's shown his face again in the current steps of the manga. So if you're not reading the manga, that doesn't mean anything to you. You don't know what the pacing of the story is. So
right.
But
I actually want to talk about a little bit more. So people didn't feel right about Gojo beating up Miguel. Because like that didn't happen in the manga. But like, you know, like We
Yeah, but
wanted to
they
see
they
Gojo
fought a
fight.
little bit, so
Yeah.
it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't out there. I feel like
That's
people are
stretched.
so nitpicky
That was such a
nowadays,
stretch.
man.
That was
People
such a
are so
stretch.
nitpicky
But did he
nowadays.
die? Exactly. We all saw the cutscene, right? That last end credit scene. Did he not? Was he not sitting next to Yuta?
The rule of anime is if I did not see it, it did not happen. If it was not shown
That's
to
the
me on the
rule of media.
screen,
Period. If you didn't
if it
see it,
was,
it
yeah,
didn't happen.
facts. If I didn't see it, it didn't happen. I was not shown, or I was shown what I was shown for a reason. Again, not to One Piece. One Piece does this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You think you know something. I just had to tell someone this earlier. You think you know something, but Oda only showed you what you wanted to show you right now. JJK, same thing. Things are shown to you in the moment that they're shown to you because there's a bigger picture further down the road. And I love that. I love that. I love to feel like this story isn't being written week to week. Because I feel like when I
Right.
was younger, when I was reading manga, that was my impression, is that every couple of weeks, the author is trying to flush out a new part of the story. Like, honestly, genuinely, like that's what I thought. But as I've grown and as I've seen different writing styles, different animation of different series, I realized like, no, you can't. As I've seen series come to their completion, I understand now that that's not the case.
Yeah, like I'm creating a few different like stories right now, and it's like my writing style. I have to flesh out the entire universe. I have to give all of my characters like backstories, so that I can figure out like what they do in their daily lives, like what motivates them, what leads them on a path. So it's like I have to flesh out everything, and I
Mm-hmm.
might even like write the end first and then work my way backwards,
I
so
like
I
that.
know where I want, and then tweak as I go. So it's like I'm
That's it.
trying a couple different things. So I like watching different writers and their different styles. Like Horikoshi and Isayama, two completely different writers, but juggernauts at what they do, and they're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with shonen type characters. So it's amazing to see what you can do when you actually care about a story. And JJK Zero, man, like getting to see Yuta's story and then seeing how all of this leads into our introduction into Yuji and his journey, like this is a really really good story.
Yeah. I will even go back to Sam's point about this kind of leaning towards even being more of a Senian is the tackling of
Right.
trauma throughout this series, because it's like, again, you get to see more complex emotions than you're normally accustomed to seeing. Um I think a really random comparison of a series that actually does this pretty well from time to time is actually Yu-Gi-Oh. If you've kept up with some of the anime, they have a tendency to be really happy-go-lucky and go really, really dark, and then bring you back to a point of understanding, like, again, these things happen in real life. Like, you understand that trauma has to be dealt with. You see that in a lot of different series where it's like, oh, you can't get past this limit, or you can't understand this, or you can't use this power anymore because there's a trauma associated, or there's something defining. I'm loving that these mangakas are putting that reality into these series more, because I feel like for a long time people felt like these kids couldn't understand that at this age, but they do. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of kids have experienced trauma from from infancy, from toddler years, from preschool years. There's a lot of things that go unchecked, and I feel like when I watch anime, again, comparatively to a lot of like just daytime television type shows, I am looking for a lesson. I'm looking for a undertone, the underscore of some bigger purpose with the series. I feel like you see that with every anime. There's always this kind of like conceptual process, feeling, emotion, just working through of something. And I feel like, again, that's the piece that ties us back to the mangaka, whether it's their personal experience of self or personal experience of somebody close to them in their life, and then being able to uniquely tell that in its own original story is amazing.
I yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah, definitely agree. I also like that the story even used trauma as power and as its own form of power, uh, a fight, its own fight as a trauma. Even like, and we've seen it in the first season with Yuji's friend thing, like being bullied, help push him not help push you when you get pushed into the edge, into the point where you're in a dark place where it becomes its own power and it becomes very dangerous. It's it's very good. It's very see it's great to see the manifestation of your trauma become your power and how you want to overcome and learn that lesson where like you don't have to let it let that trauma be you. You can overcome this. You are stronger than this. You are better for this and stuff like that. And even some things aren't even lessons. In life there is not everything is a lesson, but there can be also more pain and trauma into it. And like the person causing the trauma and pain are the villains of everybody's life and story. So it's good. It's so much relatability within JJK. JJK in this movie as well. It's oh man, I need more. I already need more chapters already.
Facts.
But any guys have any last thoughts?
Just to recap what I've said before, like I just think this is a really really good anime film. A lot of other anime, even as much as I love My Hero and I love all of the My Hero movies, they're all just a big bad mission, defeat the bad guy at the end. But this is a really deep, rich character story with all of that stuff blended in. So to me, it is far superior than a lot of other anime movies that I've seen. I think it is a brilliant adaptation of chapter 0. Like I said before, it's more violent, it's bloodier. You get more characterization between so many of these characters: Yuta, Rika, uh Gojo, Geto, all of these different characters. They do such an incredible job with the pacing, bringing in characters from the anime that we love, showing us that they're all still here, but right now we're still focusing on Yuta. Like I love the fight sequences, the animation, the music. This was why I go to the theater. I love movies and I love anime, and this is why I go to the theater, to see movies like this, and I honestly can't wait to see it again.
Kendall, last thoughts?
I don't have any more last thoughts. Go watch the movie. Shout out to John. I appreciate you pulling a lot of things out of me through this conversation. I think those are all my thoughts.
John's a bigger supporter. We love
Yeah,
John.
John's awesome.
Yeah, no, I love the questions. If you get to, if my last thoughts are, you should rewatch this entire episode. If you came in halfway, you should go back and recap everything that we talked about. Lots of substance. Much love to everybody that tuned in. Peace.
Uh, yeah, definitely watch the movie. There's more dates. There's more times now. You guys like maybe like not in all theaters, but there are still more. There's now more listing of show times where you can still watch the movie, both sub and dub. Dub is getting more show times now. Um, Definitely go and watch it, even if before the second season. Even if like you missed the movie theaters and you need to wait a couple months, definitely highly recommended. It is definitely the first anime series where they decide to go into a prequel route instead of like instead of a story arc route, or like a side story thing or a side arc with My Hero, One Piece, doing their side stories and doing everything and side missions and stuff like that, and it's not continuing the story like Mugen Train is. This is the first anime movie where it's going into a prequel before like, but also helps answer questions, give you more information, details of every characters. uh you just have to go watch it just so you have more question that you have the question that you have now for season 1. They can answer a lot of it as well as give you more new questions to help you with once season 2 like comes down and you can come in to watch week to week and that sort of thing. All right, guys, can you give us your plugs?
Hey, you can follow me and give me all your hot, spicy takes at Kendall, KendallX anime on everything TikTok, Clubhouse, Instagram, Quirk Chat. You know it, I'm there. And if you can't find me, Sam probably knows how to find me.
I do.
You guys can follow me all over social media at JB Exclusive, and of course, see the number 4 spoilers. Join us tomorrow on Villains. It's going to be a really, really fun show. We're just going to be going through a bunch of different news, talking about the new Witcher game that was announced, the Godzilla vs. Kong sequel that's shooting later this year, the Riddler comic that's being written by Paul Dano, the Gotham Knights CW series found their Two-Face, and then there's a bunch of other stuff, and then we're going to be talking about the Nova project that was just announced that looks like it's going to be more of a limited series, but we're going to talk about our thoughts, predictions, fan casting for who could play Nova, all kind of great shit. So it's going to be a great show tomorrow night, and then the following week we're going to start our Moon Knight weekly review, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Careful for Spoilers on YouTube. You want to find absolutely everything that we do, go to carefulforspoilers.com. You'll find links to all of our different podcasts. The You've Got to See This podcast is back in full force. They have 3 episodes up right now. They have their Batman review, their thoughts on the Oscar nominations. They reviewed the Adam Project and talked about Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds and their future doing Deadpool 3. A lot of great shit with C4S. So go to the website, check us out.
Guys, all information from all these gentlemen right here, and then some with Abe, Spicy. Today's her birthday. Happy birthday. Well, I mean, I'm in the East Coast, so technically it's already over, but still, happy birthday to Spicy.
It's happy birthday somewhere.
Still in Central and still in Pacific time,
Yeah,
so still, happy
technically.
birthday. It's still okay. But yeah, all of our plugs and all our connections and links are all down below and down in the descriptions. You just scroll down. You have all of our information right there and then, as well as the time codes that's going to be half of this podcast. Thank you guys for listening, as well as subscribe to the Anime Lately channel if you enjoy our talks, our discussions of everything. Like, it's not just limited to anime and mangas. We also do touch into pop cultures and stuff. Like, I mean, I know we wouldn't have time for it, but maybe next time with the Batman Joker scene and stuff like that. Oh, it's good stuff. Maybe we do talking to that with James' side on the villains.
Talk about that on Villains.
We have to talk about. You're gonna have to talk about that in villains.
Man.
But,
Oh, man.
we appreciate you guys staying this late night to listen to us talk about JJK Zero in this entire series and movie. We love the movie. You guys should definitely watch it. Support all of our social medias. Follow, like the video, subscribe. Everything else down below. Arigato. Peace. Good night.